True peace, kins and kinettes. I am back at y'all with another one. And if you trying to stay ahead of the game, you should go ahead and subscribe. Click the button. Peep the slang. Senator introduced bill to create digital identity for all Americans. I'm gonna get into this article for you. Peep the slang. U.S. Senator Kristen Sinema and Independent of Arizona and Cynthia Loomis, Republican of Wyoming, have introduced Senate Bill 884, also known as the Improving Digital Identity Act of 2023. Peep the slang. This bill was introduced March 21st in order to proceed out of committee on March 29th without amendments and with a favorable recommendation. The bill text states the lack of an easy, affordable, reliable, and secure way for organizations, business, and government agencies to identify whether an individual is who they claim to be online creates an attack vector that is widely exploited by adversaries in cyberspace and precludes many high value transactions from being available online. Incidents of identity theft and identity fraud continue to rise in the United States, where more than 293 million people were impacted by data breaches in 2021. The bill calls for the formation of a public-private partnership to bring this digital ID system into being. The public and private sector should collaborate to deliver solutions that promote confidence, privacy, choice, equity, accessibility, and innovation. The private sector drives much of the innovation around digital identity in the United States and has an important role to play in delivering digital identity solutions. Peter Slang. The bill references the Bipartisan Commission on Enhancing National Cybersecurity, which has called for the federal government to create an interagency task force directed to find secure, user-friendly, privacy-centric ways in which agency can serve as one authoritative source to validate identity attributes in the broader identity market. This action would enable government agencies and the private sector to drive significant risks out of new account openings and other high risk, high value online services, and it would help all citizens more easily and securely engage in transactions online. Peep the slang. The above section of this bill is extremely vague and left wide open for bureaucrats and technocrats to require a digital ID to perform any function considered high risk, high value online services up to and including logging onto the internet. Peep the slang. Globalists with ties to the United Nations and World Economic Forum have several years advocated a digital ID requirement as a way of removing so-called disinformation from the internet. Once everyone has a digital ID, it becomes easy to restrict everyday human movement and activity based on one's social credit score, like in China, which Klaus Schwab has stated is the model for many other nations. If your score dips below a certain point, you are now a high-risk individual and your digital ID will simply be flagged. Peep the slang. The government, working in collision with big tech in their ongoing public-private partnership, simply block you from logging onto the internet. You can no longer have a bank account, get a driver license, receive health care, obtain a passport, or any of those other high-risk privileges. Peep the slang. We have already seen how the government worked hand in glove with big tech and corporate America to silence descendants of vaccines, vaccine passports, maskings, and lockdowns during the pandemic. In Canada, the government worked with banks to freeze the bank accounts of protesting truckers. The whole blank experience was a dry run for the coming beat system where you won't be able to buy or sell without showing proof of submission to the system. Digital IDs, in tandem with the coming digital money, will be weaponized into a global enforcement system like of which the world has never seen. Peep the slang. These intrusive, invasive attempts to digitize humanity and reduce us to a QR code always come with the same sweet sounding selling points. It would take our lives easier, more convenient, more safe and secure. We will even have more privacy, Senator Sinema assures us. Peep the slang. Sinema, it's important to note was presented at the 2022 Bilderberg meeting and at the 2023 World Economic Forum meeting at Davos. She's quickly becoming one of the darlings of the global technocracy movement, said Patrick Wood, editor-in-chief of Technocracy.news and resident of Arizona. She is emerging as one of the most dangerous women in America, Wood told me. The head of the proposed new task force charged with creating the digital ID, according to Senate Bill 884, would be appointed by the president. The Senate bill states that the task force will establish and coordinate a government-wide effort to develop secure methods to improve access and enhance security between physical and digital identity credentials, particularly by promoting the development of digital versions of existing physical identity credentials, including driver license, e-passports, social security credentials, and birth certificates. Peter Slang, this is right in line with globalist World Economic Forum kingpin Klaus Schwab's pronouncement in his book COVID-19, The Great Reset, that human existence is evolving to the point where there will be a fusion of our physical, digital, and biological identities. Peter Slang and our politicians, both liberal and conservative, would be on board with this. It's the innovative thing to do, and after all, they're just trying to protect us, right? When first introduced in 2022, Senator Sinema said, "We're supporting innovation and enhancing privacy by improving digital verification to combat identity theft, fraud, and cybercrime." It sounds so good, Senator Loomis added. Peter Slang, technology has the potential to dramatically improve the security and privacy of identity credentials and enable easier access to the financial system. It doesn't make sense that Americans have to constantly overshare sensitive identity information with the government agencies and businesses, which are honeypots all too often targeted by hackers and identity thieves. I'm proud to work with my friend and colleague, Senator Sinema, to introduce the Improving Digital Identity Act of 2022 to work toward digital identity standards that protect our privacy and give Americans more control over their identity. Other senators have also called for the creation of a national digital ID system. Wine Press News reported that Congressman Barry Loudermilk, a conservative Georgia Republican, said in 2021 while pushing for similar legislations, COVID-19 changed a lot of the way Americans live, work, and provide for our families, and we have become even more reliant on digital commerce platforms. But with more Americans adapting to a new normal in the way we go about purchasing life necessities, this also means more Americans' personally identifiable information is at risk of being stolen. If this bill passes, you can bet Biden will sign it. Such a bill requires no matter how gradually the system's obedient subjects to show their digital papers in order to perform ever more functions in society until they end up as digitally marked slaves to their elitist masters. They will have handed over ownership of their very identity to the beast system. Never comply, never submit, stay awake, stay free. Peep the slang, yo. Senate Bill 884, Digital ID. And Biden, he will pass that. He will pass it on him. So y'all tell me what you think. Comments, everything. Peep the slang.